With respect to the streaming wars, where do you see things going and what's important for you as a buyer?
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a wild ride, and they're already upon us. And I think for us as buyers, we need to also remember that we're also consumers too, and really look at it through the consumer lens. It's going to be a highly competitive field. These are the biggest bets that these very large companies are making on their future, frankly, and they're doing so, I think, with a lot of consideration, even though it seems like it's coming to the market very quickly. I think one of the key differentiators, again, putting that consumer lens on it, is that you have to think about what role content is going to play in all these different partners. Is it better to license some of that content? Is it better to have a brand name associated with certain kinds of content or libraries of content? And as consumers make decisions, this is not even withstanding if they're cutting the cord or not on traditional linear television and cable. How are they going to make those decisions and prioritize that? What role does pricing play in all of these scenarios? And then add just to the mix this idea of what is the role of live television and sports going to play in that capacity. So those are a lot of the factors that we think about from a macro perspective as we look to CES and the upfronts beyond that. How are we going to make those kind of strategic decisions with regards to partners, but also with regards to content?
So, what are the opportunities around advertising in terms of units, ad loads? What do you think people want? Targeting advertising. How does advertising change with the streaming opportunities?
Yeah, I think it is really interesting because we're still beholden to talking about different platforms and different screens, frankly, and what that consumer experience is on each of these screens. And then it is collaborating also with our creative agency partners or content partners to start to understand what is the balance between content and advertising. And for many clients, what we find is it's not just the outputs of a media mix model, for example, that says, well, 15s are more efficient and this is the right decision. It's often a different way of thinking about what the role of that content and the engagement is. So maybe it's a 6-second ad, and maybe I can get everything I need to get across in 6 seconds, and I have much more freedom and flexibility to do that in the streaming space than I ever did before.
So, you're doing a lot of work around multi-touch attribution. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, multi-touch attribution, MMM, cross-screen measurement, all of those sort of nested capabilities are something that we've done internally at Omnicom for a long time. We also partner with third parties as well. And I think one of the most interesting innovations we've been able to bring to bear is figuring out how we can do this with a level of granularity that has until this point not been available. And that's using clean rooms with our walled garden partners. That's ADH and Facebook ad analytics. And finally, including those partners in an attribution model that really gets us closer to a full, rich, and very specific picture of how what is motivating consumers to take a certain action or to feel a certain emotion. And that's incredibly exciting as we think about innovation in the marketplace.
And finally, tell us about ACR, the value of ACR, how you use it, what you need from it, and what it provides.
It's an invaluable data set for us and has really been tremendous when we've thought about how we can, one, understand consumer behavior, but perhaps most importantly, activate it on it in that capacity. For us, we really partnered with Inscape and part of the Vizio product to be able to do that over the last 18 months or so. So we've got a really good set of experiences with hands-on keyboards. And within our Omni platform, we're able to use this data both in the upfront planning portion of the process and thread that through all the way through to activation. And that has been so enlightening for us too. So instead of just using one data set for planning and a different data set for activation and hoping that these two actually match up, Inscape has really given us a huge opportunity to thread that through the entire process.
So, what do you expect some of the conversations to be at CES around advanced TV?
Yeah, I think, certainly around advanced TV, it's just trying to keep up with the news cycle, and everyone is coming out with new innovations and new products and whatnot. I think streaming wars will be a big part of that discussion and how those different partners are managing that kind of data sets and integrating those data sets as well. the biggest part of the conversation is going to be about scale and scalability of that, and what is going to be available to agencies to actually leverage to bring it into our data environments, bring it into clean room environments. When we think about what is the ability for us to model in a future-facing manner, it's not the full footprint of everyone who is watching any sort of video content. And so making sure that our models, we feel confident in our models that we can extrapolate that out. For many of our clients who are looking for, truly how I can be more precise and more addressable with my linear television buy, the scale conversation is going to be a big one.